YouTube, what's up? It's your boy the Barber coming back at you with another haircut tutorial. In this video, we're going to be doing a low fade with a textured top. So I like to begin each cut by brushing or combing out my client's hair. Shout out to Still 2 Comb for this dope comb. And I just want to get everything to lay in its natural direction. Now that I got everything laying down, I'm going to take my WAHL magic clip with my WAHL number 4 premium guard with the lever closed, and I'm going to begin to knock down bulk. And all I'm doing right here is I'm basically cleaning up my work area. So I'm not even really concerned about his parietal ridge right now at this point. I'm just more concerned about setting a perimeter around his head to create a foundation for my fade. So I'm not even necessarily going to blend into this number 4. I'm just cleaning up because his hair is so poofy that this is going to allow me to see my fade the way I need to as I progress with it. Alright, so now that I knocked some of that bulk out the way, I'm going to come in with my ANDIS T outliner, and I'm going to create my first guideline, which is going to be my bald guideline. And I'd like his lineup area to stay predominantly dark, so that C-cup area, I want it to pop at the end of this cut. So that's why I'm taking the shape that I am right now, and it's gonna start making sense as we progress through the steps. So make sure you stay woke when it comes to that lineup, because this is a really dope look and it's easy to acquire if you just follow the steps properly. Alright, so now that my bald guideline has been set, I'm going to come in with my BABYLISSPRO Foil FX02, and this is the gold version, and I'm going to completely bald out that guide. Again, when I get towards the top of the guide, you're going to notice that I demonstrate that flick out motion, and that's because I want to allow a clean transition from completely bald to stubble, because later on, that's what's really going to help make my fade pop. So now that I got my guide blended out, I'm going to come in with my WAHL magic clip with the original fade blade, and I'm going to begin to create my next guideline. And you're going to notice that I'm avoiding that C-cup area. And this is exactly what you're going to need to do if you're going to want that to stay predominantly dark. If you're not looking to achieve that look, then you're just going to bring your guide all the way to the front like you normally would. So once my guide has been set with the lever open, I'm now going to close my lever and I'm going to begin to blend out that guide, working my way from the bottom of it right back up towards the top of it. And little by little as I work my way up, I'm going to open my lever. I'd say I open it about 3 times, from the lever being closed to halfway to fully open. And little by little as I work my way up, you're going to notice that that guide's moving up with me. And that's okay, because that's exactly what I'm looking for. By the time I make my way towards the top of that guide and my lever's fully extended again, it'll be completely blended out. Alright, so now that I have that guide blended out, I'm going to come in with my WAHL magic clip, this time with the taper blade, and I'm going to come in with the WAHL number 1 color guard with the lever open to create my next guideline. And you're gonna notice that when I get towards the top of this guide, I'm using that flick out motion because I don't want to set anything in harsh. My next step from here is gonna be clipper over comb, and by me doing this flick out motion, it's gonna allow me to set in my guide softer so it's easier to remove when it comes time to. Once my guide has been set with the lever fully open, just like the previous guide, I'm now going to close my lever and begin to blend from the bottom of that guide right back up towards the top of that guide where we just left off. The only difference is this time I'm going to keep my lever closed, and I'm literally going to go from the bottom of this guide right back to underneath where I just left off with the lever fully open. So the one closed tends to leave weight behind, and right where I'm showing you, that was the weight left behind, but that's okay. I'm going to show you how to remove that right now. So I'm going to come in with my WAHL half color guard with the lever open, and I'm going to begin to attack right above where I see that weight that was left. And the way I'm going to remove it is by the fade down process. And what I mean by that is I'm going to start with my lever fully open, and I'm going to close my lever as needed and work my way down until that guide's completely blended out. And clearly you could see right here that it's already starting to take place. So right here, I'm just demonstrating the same exact step work on the back of the head as I just did on the side of the head. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I'm noticing a lot of inconsistency when it comes to people's fades in the back of the head area. And I'm not exactly sure why that's taking place. And I'm showing this right here to just demonstrate, if you trust and follow the same process that you just did on the side of the head, now in the back, it's all gonna come together and look like it's one as it should, because you're following and trusting the same process. And I would say a rule that is good to place in that will definitely help you along your way is create a guide, remove the guide before you move on to your next step. So now that my blend's coming together, before I move on to clipper over comb or my shear work, I want to create that predominantly dark C cup look that I want to give him. So that's what you see me doing right now. The shape's starting to take place. I'm using the darkness and that weight that I left behind to achieve the look. And once I set it in and then I have that look that I'm looking for, I'll then begin to blend out and work out any weight that might be left behind that predominantly dark C cup, so everything comes together nicely. But before I clean it up and make it blur in with the rest of the fade, I want to use that darkness so I could create that shape that I want to achieve. So right here you see that I'm wetting the hair and I'm combing it out in the area that I want to do clipper over comb. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when his hair's dry, it's extremely poofy, and by me applying a little bit of water, it's going to allow me to gain a little more control so I could achieve that look that I'm looking for. So right here, my whole goal is to bestly connect that blend into that length on top. And I know that some weight and darkness is going to be left behind, and that's okay. I'm going to show you how to clean that up in the next step. But right here, my goal is to just connect it the best way that I can. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to apply my comb directly flat on his scalp, and then I'm going to slightly angle it at a 45-degree angle towards the top, because I want to obtain somewhat of a boxy look and shape for my client as far as the finished look. So now that I achieved the shape that I was looking for with the clipper over comb, I'm now going to begin to remove the weight that was left behind. And my logic behind this is, when I use the number 1 guard on my clipper with the lever closed and I do clipper over comb with the comb, that's essentially like a number 2 guard, because that comb acts as a 1 guard, and by me already having the 1 guard placed on my clipper with the lever closed, that now makes basically a number 2 guard. So anytime that I do that, I could comfortably come in and know that I could remove weight and work out dark spots with my 1.5 premium guard. So that's what you saw me do. And so I'm gonna use the fade down process to remove that weight and darkness. So after I come in with the 1.5 premium guard with the lever open, you'll see that I close it and work my way down. And there's still some weight behind, so I'm gonna follow it up with the number 1 guard with the lever fully open and continue to fade down and close my lever as needed. Alright, so now that I have his fade looking blurry, I'm now gonna wet his hair and prep it for shear work. Again, this is just my preference. Anytime I do shear work, I like to wet the hair so I have a little more control over it. If you feel more comfortable doing it dry, then go ahead and do that. And so right here, I'm gonna add a little bit of texture to his hair. We're comfortable with the length on top. My client just went from being completely bald to growing his hair back out. And so we wanna keep the length that he has, but I wanna add a little bit of spice to his style. So I'm gonna add some texture. And so right here, what you see me doing, some call it slithering, some call it channeling, I call it texturizing. And so basically I'm taking my shears and I'm working in rows of section so I keep everything consistent with it, but I'm coming in with my shears basically halfway closed, maybe a little bit more, and I'm slithering across his hair. And as I do that, I'm feeling the haircut, but anytime I feel my shears wanting to stop and not move forward, I'm gonna slightly open and close them so I'm able to continue with that flow. So right here, I'm gonna continue to add some texture to his look and style in the fringe or the bang area, if you will. So I'm gonna pull up the front section of his hair and I'm gonna do some point cutting. And again, this is gonna add a little bit more texture to his look, but it's also gonna break up any blunt or sharpness that may be there. And what I mean by that is he just went from bald to growing his hair back out. So essentially it should all be straight and one length. And when we style him up, we don't want it to look all blunt and straight. So by me doing that point cutting, it adds a little bit of texture and it breaks that up. So my client also has really thick hair, and so I'm gonna thin that out for him. And by me thinning it out right now, it's also gonna add a little bit more texture to that overall look I wanna give him. So I'm gonna pull up a section of hair and I'm gonna take my thinning shears or my texturizing shears, whatever you wanna call them. And as I pull that section up, I'm gonna make 1 or 2 cuts directly in the center. And as I make that cut, I'm gonna work my shear towards the top of the hair that I'm holding. And again, this is gonna allow me to thin out his hair, but it's also gonna add a little bit of texture to that look we wanna give him. Alright, so now that I got my man Romeo texturized and his fade looking blurry, I'm now going to prep his front lineup. And what I mean by prep is you see that I'm separating the hair on top with some duck clips. And then I'm going to apply a hold spray on those little baby hairs that we see. And what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to give them a sharp lineup today. But by me applying that spritz hold and combing everything down and keeping everything consistent, even after he showers and restyles out, everything's gonna look the same. So it's a good technique to use, and it's also a good thing to keep in mind your client's grow back, because you want your client to look good and feel good when they leave your chair, but you also want them to feel as good when they look in the mirror tomorrow and style out. So now that I shaped his front line up with my trimmers, I'm now going to finalize everything with my straight razor. And anytime that I apply a razor to a client, I always make sure that I'm properly stretching the skin. I want to highly stress that. If you want to give your client a comfortable shave and not nick them along the way, then you're going to want to properly stretch the skin before you apply the blade. My preference is to dry shave, but at the end of the day, it's up to my client. Whatever their preference is, that's what I go with. But if I'm given the opportunity to dry shave, then that's what I do. And for those of you just starting out using the razor, I would suggest using the shave gel because it's almost like it protects you in a way. And not to say that dry shaving is extremely different or crazy, but I definitely feel like, again, if you're just starting out with the razor, then you're going to want to use shave gel just to kind of protect you until you're a little more comfortable. The reason why I would highly preference dry shaving on this client in particular is because he has so much forehead and baby hair and he had a unibrow, and that shave gel would have just made it all really messy, and I'm not trying to have that. So now that I got my mans all dusted off like an artifact, I'm going to apply some big sexy powder play, and this is a texturizing powder, so it's just going to add to that overall finished look. And here it is, y'all, the final cut. Oh Romeo, where did thou get that blurry oh Romeo? I think that's clean. If you got anything useful out this, I ask that you smash that like button. If you're new to my channel, I suggest you stick around. It's only gonna get doper from here. I haven't chosen someone to gift my ANDIS Pro Foil shaver to, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose somebody out of the comment section below. So if that's something you're looking to be gifted, make sure you get active and let me know. Again, I appreciate y'all. Be blessed and be a blessing. I'm out.